Hello everyone, this is Miss Lindsay. Today we're going to talk about section 1.7 dealing with the deductive structure. What is a deductive structure? It is a system of thought in which conclusions are justified by previously assumed or proven statements. It consists of undefined terms, assumptions, which we call postulates, definitions, and theorems. Let's take a look at these items in a little bit more detail. First one's undefined terms. These are terms that are difficult to define. For example, a point, a line, and a plane. Postulates, which are unproven assumptions, and they are sometimes reversible. An example of this would be 2 points. Determine a line. Third, we have definitions, which state the meaning of a term or of an idea. These are always reversible. Let's go ahead and write an example of the definition of a straight angle in if-then format. So if an angle is a straight angle, then it measures 180 degrees. And last but not least are theorems. Theorems can be proven, they are proven, and they are sometimes reversible, not always. An example of that could be Pythagorean theorem. As we discussed earlier in the chapter, these ideas we typically express in if-then format, or in other words, conditional statements. So using the if-then format, the if portion would be the hypothesis, the then portion would be the conclusion. So if we take a look at our example here, which we did on the previous page, if an angle is a straight angle, then it measures 180 degrees. The hypothesis is the if portion. An angle is a straight angle. The conclusion is the then portion. Then it measures 180 degrees. The converse is when we reverse the conclusion and the hypothesis. So if we take our example from above and write the converse of that, it would be if an angle measures 180 degrees, then it is a straight angle. And please notice that is also true because that is a definition. So definitions are reversible and they are true either way. We can also take the conditional statements and rewrite them using variables. We typically use P and Q, but any variable can be used. If P, then Q, or it simply can be used written with this arrow. P implies Q. So in this case, P would be our hypothesis. Q is our conclusion. And this is our conditional statement. If we then want to write the converse, again we switch the hypothesis and the conclusion, so it would be if Q, then P, or in other words, Q implies P. So let's take a look at a few examples dealing with conditional statements and converse statements. Directions for these 4 examples: underline the hypothesis in one color, which I'll go ahead and do in red. Underline the conclusion in another color. I'll go ahead and do that in blue. Then over to the right here, we want to write an if-then statement where needed. So in other words, if the statement given to you is not an if-then format, we need to first write it in that format. Then we will write the converse and determine whether or not it's true or false. So our first example, if an angle measures 90 degrees, then it is a right angle. So let's go ahead and underline the hypothesis, which would be in red. That's the if portion. An angle measures 90 degrees. The conclusion, which is the then portion, underline in blue. It is a right angle. Next, The converse, again, we want to write the reverse, switch our conclusion or our hypothesis. So if an angle is a right angle, then it measures 90 degrees. Is that true or false? That would be true. Again, this is a definition, and definitions are always reversible. Our second example, if Evan got a B on his math quiz, then he passed the quiz. So in red, we have our hypothesis. As Evan got a B on his math quiz, conclusion, he passed the quiz. It's already written in if-then format. So now we can go ahead and write the converse. If Evan passed the quiz, then he got a B on the math quiz. First, let me point out a couple different things here. Please notice that I put Evan with the if portion. I did not say if he passed the quiz and Evan got a B on the math quiz. We again took our nouns and put them in appropriate places. Now we just have to determine whether or not this is true or false, and that is false. Moving on to our third example, this is not an if-then format, so our first order of business would be write that in if-then format. All dogs have 4 legs. So if-then format, if it is a dog, then it has 4 legs. So the hypothesis, if it is a dog, conclusion has 4 legs. Converse, if it has 4 legs, then it is a dog, and that is false. Go ahead at this point in time, please pause the video, go ahead and do example 4. When you have finished, press play to check your answers. And here's the answer to number 4. It is Saturday is the hypothesis. We don't go to school is conclusion. The converse, if we don't go to school, then it is Saturday, and that is false. And this concludes section 1.7.